Hey everybody, what's up? Startup Survival here, and I have a question for you. A lot of you people who watch my channel have knife collections, I'm assuming, because that's how my channel started, was knife reviews. What percent of your collection do you actually carry on a regular basis? Because what I've started to notice with my collection is that there's some knives that I carry all the time, and I'll just put out the Osborne 940 as an example, and then there's knives that I almost never carry. And which should I choose? I'll choose this one because it's also an EDC knife, the SOG Flash 1. So this will be my first example, and I'll talk about why I carry one and not the other. So the Benchmade Osborne obviously is a much more expensive knife. It's a larger knife. It's got different materials and, you know, better construction, let's say. So it's just a better knife. It's an unfair comparison, but I love it because it's light and it's thin. And it's got a nice long blade on it, and like I said, it's got the great materials, Axis lock. Come on, it's awesome. This is a great knife. I don't carry the SOG Flash 1, partially because of what you just saw right there. Ease of operability and what I consider to be difficulty of operability, because it's an assisted an assisted knife, and you got to like overcome that pressure to close the knife. I just don't like it. I'm not willing to. I don't think the trade-off of that speed versus that speed, like I didn't see any difference there. I don't think it's worth having to sort of feel resistance on the lock. I know that's a minor thing, but anyways, I don't like that. And also it's too small, like cramped ergonomics, right? And I will also include the Spyderco Dragonfly in that category. I think this is a nice little knife, but for me it's just a little too small in the hand, you know? It's better ergonomics than the Flash, but not by much, right? So again, I never carry these two knives because they are so small. That is the reason. I do think that they serve a purpose, and you know, somebody might really enjoy those knives. I just personally don't enjoy them. So let me show you some other stuff that I normally EDC, because I have it right here, and I'll sort of show you what a typical day would be like for me. So I bring my wallet everywhere with me. Inside I have cards. I always carry cash too, at least $100, maybe $200. I have a smartphone here. This is an Android, Samsung Galaxy S4, I guess, with an OtterBox around it. I actually just got this phone like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and yeah, I really liked it so far. I'm not a huge smartphone person, but this is a good phone. If I'm going to go one way or the other, it's going to be Android. This is my watch. It is a Citizen EcoDrive titanium. I really wanted to get a titanium watch because I thought it would be lightweight, and it is. It's if you've never handled a titanium watch versus a stainless steel one, I definitely encourage you to give it a try. They are more expensive, but I got a great deal on this. I bought this online, and it was maybe $150, $170, something like that. And I think that's a nice, classy looking watch, and I have a huge pride of ownership with that. Here's my Fenix E12 flashlight. It's just it's a multi-mode flashlight. It has a low, medium, and high, but that's it. No strobe or anything like that. And I like it. Just simple. It's just a single AA battery in there, and I use rechargeables. I just swap it out every few days, every week or two, and I find that I've always got a bright light, and it doesn't cost me any money to power it, so it's awesome. So that's my flashlight. Usually got my keys with me. You know, on there I've got multi-tool, I've got the little flashlight, I have a whistle, all hooked together on a carabiner. And actually for a while I was carrying around this Leatherman Wave with me, inside of its storage case, just inside the backpack, you know. But I've actually stopped carrying that, and that's gonna. The reason I'm showing you this, it does have a point, believe it or not, with the knife discussion. But I don't like carrying really heavy things. I've figured this out over time, and it's funny because Nothing Fancy talks about it, and you know, some people still go ahead and buy huge knives, and I'm one of them. And I like big knives, but what I just find is that test of time, I don't carry the big knives as much. So, for whatever that's worth. I think it's going to influence this discussion a little bit, though. So you might say, well, that's kind of crazy. You already said you don't like the really small knives, but you're saying you don't like the really big knives either. And yeah, I think that is what I'm saying, actually. So I'll bring out the Osborne again. You know, not too big, not too small, but it carries well, right? That's the point. I don't need this knife to be this long. I like it. I think it's a lot better than one of those knives in terms of its capabilities, but in order to get that sort of longer blade length, the reason why this knife is so special is because it really folds down in that nice one-to-one, very efficient, thin package. So bigger knife, but still easy to carry. That's going to be a theme with this discussion. So what about another knife that I don't like to carry? Or that I don't carry very much, let's put it that way. It's not that I don't like to carry it, it's that I find myself not carrying it very often. And this is, of course, the Cold Steel Large Voyager. I like this knife a lot. I think for the money, this is one of the best knives you can possibly buy. And also, it's so smooth, too. It's definitely the smoothest cold steel knife that I own. Maybe they all smooth out with time, I'm not sure. But I just found this one was naturally very smooth and easy to operate, which is a nice change of pace. But it's just too big, right? I think I fixed underneath the pocket clip there. I think I sanded some of the handle there to make it easier to get in and out of the pocket, but that pocket clip's no good either. And I mean, the thing is that I wear a suit day to day these days for my work. I don't enjoy dressing up, but it's something I kind of have to do. And anyways, you're not going to carry a knife like this in your suit pant pocket. Just trust me, you won't. That also goes for the Recon One. You know, the Recon One is a cool knife. I remember when I bought this knife, and I was so happy. I carried it around for weeks, even in my shorts. But it is big, right? I think it's a little easier to carry than the Voyager, but not by much. You're not going to do much about that huge 4-inch blade, right? And also, try opening some packages and just sort of like standard tasks with such a large knife. And I just find that it's too much knife for that. Yeah, you can get it done, but I can get it done better with a smaller knife, for sure. So anyways, I just find that big blade is not really necessary most of the time, right? So nothing too big, nothing too small. Let's bring out the Endura. And I'm going to put this in sort of like the maybe, middle pile. It's going to reach across the aisle and talk to both parties. So this is the Endura, of course, and it's also a very large knife. When you stack that up against the Recon One, you can see they're of similar size. I think the Endura is just a little smaller, maybe like a ½ inch shorter or something like that. But anyways, why I like the Endura is because it packs down into quite a thin package, just like that Osborne over there. You see? Look at the thickness of that compared to the Recon. I think that's quite a lot thinner, and it's lighter too. This is like 3 ounces or something like that, or 3.5 ounces. That's like 5 ounces, I think. So it's a good 40% lighter, and it's thinner. So I mean, I'll put these over here at the like extreme end of the table, and this will be sort of in the middle. We're gonna go from cold to hot over here. Okay, let's bring out another one that I do like to carry, because I don't want this. I need to represent both sides equally, right? So, and it's not just Benchmates, by the way. These are the only Benchmates that I carry often. But this is the Mini Grip, super small. I like the subdued colors. And like I said, it's small, but it's not freakishly small, right? Like it's just a little larger than those knives. Somewhere in between those and a Delica is where this sort of ends up. And that's good enough for me. Love the Axis lock, love the colors. You can see I'm a green guy. I like the OD greens and whatnot. I guess that's more of a forest green. But this is a cool little knife. Yeah, fast. And that's like the perfect size for me, you know, to open packages, to cut stuff open. You know, I mean, like if you sort of hammer down on it there, you got enough blade to get a lot of stuff done. So that's another example of a knife I like. Since I mentioned the Delica, I'll bring it out right now. This is one of my all-time favorite knives. Just because I think it sort of is perfect in so many ways. The issue is that do I carry it day to day today? Not during the week. Not during the week as much, because these colors will stand out against a pair of black or gray or blue pants or whatever. So I find that these get noticed, and people have made comments about that knife in particular. They're like, oh, you're carrying a knife. So people notice that you carry a knife when you carry any of these like bright freaky colors, but when you carry sort of like subdued colors, people are not going to notice as much. I don't know why that is, but I guess the human eye is just attracted to colors, you know. And in an office environment, these are foreign colors. But I love the Delica, you know, for all the reasons I've talked about before in my videos. Go check them out if you want. I've talked a lot about this knife, and I'm just if I talk about it here, I'm just kind of repeating myself, right? So anyways, those are all cool knives. Maybe I'll bring them down more so you can have a look at them. Okay, so yeah, that's sort of like least carried to most carried, I would say, right now. So what about another least carried? Okay, well this will be a cool one. This one will be fun, okay? So this is a least carried. It is a Sprint Run Spyderco Paramilitary 2 with S35 VN steel and a sort of flat earth brown handle. This knife has been carried very gently, but I don't think it's been used for anything to cut anything serious, so that's one of my least carries. I bought it last year, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but for now it's just sort of in storage, and I'll figure it out later, right? So I'll keep that at the extreme end of the table because I don't carry that ever. But what I do carry all the time are my Spyderco Paramilitary 2s. This is the black on black and the camo with the satin blade, of course. I carry those on weekends mostly because they are it is sort of a larger knife, the Paramilitary 2. What I love is how smooth and fast it is. I like that. The blade shape is absolutely amazing. Have you ever seen a better blade shape than that? Because it's got the thinness to it that you want, but also it's got such a great point on it. Great steel as well. Spyderco Paramilitary 2. So if there's any knife on the table I think is absolutely perfect, I think this one would be pretty close right now. The Osborne's a very nice knife as well, but we'll leave those over there. Okay, so that one's kind of funny, right? Because it's not carried and carried, but same knife. Okay, here's another not carry. It is the Cold Steel Medium Voyager. And why would you not carry that if you like the Delica? Well, I'll tell you why. Because the handle is like a little crammed. Like as you try to ram your hand in there into the finger grooves, it kind of I don't know, creates some pressure. I would say it's not a very ergonomic knife overall. I would say when you grip it hard, it starts to hurt your hand a lot. Anyways, that's one reason, but the second reason is just that pocket clip. I haven't actually, I've been too lazy to like mod the knife and sand under there, and actually I'm starting to get pissed off with Cold Steel knives. Like, why do we have to mod every single knife when it's been documented on camera by like hundreds of people on YouTube and all the forums as well? People talk about this. Why does it Cold Steel not just redesign their knife and just smooth out that portion underneath there? Like, how long could that possibly take? That's the difference between some manufacturers. Like Spyderco, how many generations of Endura are there now? Like 4? They go on the forums and like respond to people who are commenting on their knives, and they change the designs in ways that the people want. People wanted FFG blades, so look at these. They put FFG blades on everything, and you know, people like colors, so they make colors. And then you've got Cold Steel over here. That like refuses to change a design until like 5 or 7 years down the road or something like that, and then maybe they'll get around to it, who knows, right? But every single knife from Cold Steel I've had has needed to be modified underneath that pocket clip. I wish they would figure it out, because I would carry knives so much more often from their company, and also yeah, I just don't like having to modify knives that I paid good money for. So anyways, that's my prejudice against this knife. I think it's still a good knife otherwise, okay? Like, it's not none of these knives are bad. I'm just telling you why or why not do I carry them, right? Okay, so let's do another why not, because there's more why nots. This is, of course, the full-size Griptilian. So it's a great knife as well. You know what I mean? Like, if you have a lot of work to do, in terms of ergonomics, we were just talking about how this one kind of sucked. This one's awesome, man. Because I like handles like this that are just like so simple, not all crazy with you know, a whole bunch of like finger grooves and all that stuff. I mean, it's kind of weird to look at, and actually this one does feel pretty good, but by and large I would prefer for a knife to just be a simple handle, just a palm swell right here, sort of. This one's even like a little bit maybe three-dimensional, maybe. But it feels great in the hand. I really like it. This was my first Benchmade, and I still think it's an awesome knife, but I just don't carry it because of things I've already talked about. It's got bright colors, so it's going to stand out in the pants, and also it's just too big, you know? Like, this knife does not carry as well as an Endura. You can compare those knives in a lot of ways, but I like the thinness of the Endura, you know what I mean? Versus this sort of thicker full-size Griptilian. So anyways, I would put it right around here somewhere. You know, like, I do carry it, just not that often. Okay, let's go back to a knife that I do carry, and it's sort of a 2-for-1. So, Sage 2, Sage 1. People who have watched my channel for a while, they know that I carry these knives. So I think these are both classy looking EDC knives. They're the perfect size. They have great materials, both S30V. Pocket clips, they carry so well, and they're nice and flat. I think this one may be just a little thicker because of the liners. But not by much, you know, like those are very nice thin knives, and they're not freakishly small, you know what I mean? They don't carry strangely or, you know, whatever, like bad pocket clips. Just sort of overall perfect knives. Love the Sage series. I did have a Sage 3 in the collection for a very brief period of time, which I ended up selling because it was just, I don't know, I didn't need another Sage, to be honest with you, and yeah, I just wanted to kind of try it out. Okay, so 3 more that I don't carry very often. Spyderco Persistence. There's no reason not to carry this knife, because I do think it's a nice little knife. I think for the weight and everything, it's probably better to just get that little bit extra for the Tenacious, because you have more capabilities, and you're not really changing the overall like dimensions of this package that much. That's what's kind of surprising about this value series from Spyderco, is as they get smaller, I'm surprised that they don't get significantly lighter, but they're all sort of around that 3 to 4 ounce mark. Anyways, good little knife. I don't carry it that often. I probably should, but I don't know. I have other choices. That's the only reason. I still think this is a great knife, so I'll put it maybe... Well, the fact of the matter is I never carry it, okay? Because I have better things to carry, but I do think it's a good knife, so I'll put it like right here, whatever. I'm not sure the system means anything anymore. Does anybody remember what the system meant? Yeah, the ones on the left are the ones I carry a lot, and the ones on the right are the ones that I don't carry that much. Okay, so Byrd Caracara 2. You know, definitely a cheapo version of the Endura. Which one did I buy first? I think I bought this one first because I didn't want to pay the money for the Endura at the time. And funny, it's funny actually, because some people with collecting advice, they say just buy the knife you really want the first time, because if you don't, you're going to end up buying a whole bunch of other knives on the way to get to that knife that you really wanted in the first place. So some people say don't compromise. I say buy what you're comfortable buying at the time, you know, and if you're not comfortable paying $80 for that knife, get this knife for $20. I'm sure you'll be fine with that process, you know. So anyways, the Byrd Caracara 2. It's a great knife. I've been using it in the kitchen actually, because why not, right? But anyways, what I found is that as this knife gets wet over and over and over again, it started to develop a bunch of rust right here in the pivot area, and then sort of around the blade right there. I think where sort of the plastic pinches the blade pivot area, I think that's where the rust seems to be developing. So I put some mineral oil on it, cleaned it up. It seems to be okay. But it's funny because people always say that this 8CR13 and AUS8 and stuff will rust on you. And yeah, they will, but you have to get them wet like a lot. It's stainless steel, right? But if you're taking this out in a boat and fishing with it or something where it's getting wet day after day after day, it's gonna rust for sure. Anyways, great knife. I have carried this a lot, but I don't find myself carrying it that much these days. Like I said, use it in the kitchen. Okay, last but not least of knives that I don't carry very much is the Cold Steel American Lawman. And I can't really explain why I don't carry it that often, because you know, it's got a great blade shape, it's got good materials, it's actually fairly thin for what it is, and I think that the overall dimensions of this knife sort of lend themselves towards EDC more so than like a Recon 1 does. I mean, it's not a huge difference, but there's a difference for sure. Maybe there's not that much of a difference. I don't know. Those seem pretty similar, actually, when I look at them now on the camera. But anyways, it's kind of a bigger knife, you know. And the other thing is, too, is when it folds down, it's quite wide, right? That's fairly substantial. And let me just put the Osborne up against it, sort of as a counter example. You can see it's a lot bigger than the Osborne. So I mean, that's the reason I don't carry it right there. Is because of its sort of like wide dimensions. Also, it's kind of scary, kind of tactical looking. Which I don't really mind, but like I said, I'm definitely not going to be carrying a tactical knife into the office, so I don't carry this that often. I have carried it. I think it's great. I think this would be one of those awesome knives. If you're not a collector, if you're a user, that's where a knife like this would really, really be appreciated. and I don't use my knives that heavily, truth be told. So it's not a pure EDC knife. This is a user knife, and it's a hard use knife. So if I'm going camping or something like that, or maybe backpacking or whatever, a knife like this is appropriate, right? Because you want a hard knife. The chances that you're going to have to use your knife if you go outdooring are much higher than if you're in the city, right? So a knife like this starts to come into its own there. So I guess that's pretty much it. That's my collection, unless I'm missing something. But yeah, that's my collection for right now. And maybe it just gives you a bit of insight into what I'm carrying, and I'd be interested to hear people's thoughts, like what kind of knives you're carrying these days. Thanks for watching.